What's up? Brian Tong here, and this is my review for Apple's new M3 MacBook Airs. Now, Apple sent me both the 13-inch and the 15-inch models for this review, and I'm going to show you everything that's different. I also ran the latest benchmarks on them as well with results that actually surprised me. And who do these laptops make sense for? We're going to answer all that. So let's start with the looks. And really, there are no surprises design-wise here. I mean, you're looking at it, you can't see a difference even from the top here, right? The shape, the corners, the curves, the edges, right? The ports, even the colors are exactly the same. We got Midnight here, and then we have Starlight here as the previous model as options. They both have a liquid retina display with 500 nits of brightness and P3 wide color gamut support. You get the standard 1080p FaceTime camera, and yes, the notch, because Apple, there's no ProMotion. You got no mini LED displays here on the Airs. That's still gonna only be on the Pros, but you won't feel really like you're missing that much after a few moments. I mean, at least I don't, but I'm primarily creating content and editing videos. Once I'm on a machine that doesn't have ProMotion, yeah, when I have one, I like it, but I don't miss it. Now, the speakers, these sound great as usual. The 15-inch has a 6-speaker system, and the 13-inch has 4 speakers like before. They also both support Dolby Atmos and spatial audio. Plus, you got a 3-mic array system that brings even better voice clarity for audio and video calls. Now, they still come in the same 13-inch and 15-inch sizes, and everything inside the box that you expect is the same. You're getting the color-matched fabric MagSafe cables for each one. You got a USB-C power adapter. They still have the white end, which still would be slicker to me if it matched the actual metal finish. And yes, very important, color-matched stickers. For one of you out there, it matters. Yes! Now, looking at the ports, both of these have the MagSafe 3 charging port. You got the 2 Thunderbolt 3 USB-C ports, and then you flip it around, you got the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. That's right here as well on the other side. But these 2 ports get more important because the new M3 MacBook Airs now support dual displays. Now, they've previously supported a single 6K display at 60 hertz refresh rate, but now the new M3 supports 2 5K displays running at 60 hertz when the lid is closed. So that's 2 Apple Studio displays if you're balling like that. And yes, that means you can have a boss level dual display support with Apple's smallest portable that packs plenty of power with the M3 chip inside. You know, it takes something as small as the 13-inch Air and makes it even better if that's what you're into. And I know most people are not going to do this, but some of you will now. It's also pretty freaking awesome for a content creator like myself, and it's really making me want to eventually get a second display after playing around this. I know I've had the chance, but look, it costs money, right? So we also can't forget another improvement that is specific to here, the midnight color option. Now, it gets the same reduced fingerprint anodization seal that the Space Black MacBook Pros received last year. Now, when I unboxed it, my hands were all lotioned up. I know, too much information, TMI. So I definitely got some fingerprints on it then, but after wiping it down and now using it normally for just about maybe 5 or 6 days, over that time, some fingerprints will show up, but it's very, very good. I'm flipping this over. You can see this, especially when you compare it to the previous M2 Air series where Midnight, that thing was a freaking fingerprint magnet. Also, fun fact, the new M3 MacBook Air is the first Apple product to be made entirely with 50% recycled content, including 100% recycled aluminum in this enclosure. Now, the 15-inch MacBook Air, the laptop, this thing with an M3 now. This is the laptop I've always wanted, especially as a student, and it always will be. But, I've graduated a little. I need all the power I can get, so I am still using a Pro. But in reality, I could easily do just fine with an M3 based machine, either of these. It's just that I want the largest screen real estate, and also I'd have to wait longer for my video export times. That matters for me. So this is just a perfect way to jump over to the benchmark tests that I ran on them. You can always assume, okay, yes, this is going to perform exactly like the M3 iMac, and just mention that, oh, it's 60% faster than the M1 because Apple told us so. But I like to actually test these things for myself and for you all. So let's see how the new M3 MacBook Air actually performs. And the M3 has an 8-core CPU, a 10-core GPU with Apple's next generation capabilities. You have things like dynamic caching for significantly increased performance. You get hardware accelerated mesh shading to more easily render complex scenes, and then hardware accelerated ray tracing that's to enable more accurate shadows and reflections to bring realism to scenes in games and 3D rendered environments. Now, Apple let me use these two Airs just for the purpose of this review, but they're going to be going right back to them. They are both configured with 16 gigs of unified memory and 512 gigs of storage. So first up, I ran the Geekbench 6 benchmark test, and these are just reference points for us, but here's the results that I found. And I run these benchmarks 10 times, then average out the scores just to give you the best number kind of that's accurate as possible. And I ran these tests on the 13-inch because the few times I ran them on the 15-inch, they showed pretty much the same similar results. All right, let's get to the scores. And the M3 MacBook Air has a single core score of 3,148. While if you look at the M3 iMac from the end of last year, that had a score of 3,104. So just an ever slight improvement that you really wouldn't be able to feel. Now, if we're talking about multi-core performance, the new M3 MacBook Air has a score of 12,072. You compare that to the M3 iMac again with a score of 11,931. Again, a small, almost negligible difference, but still the slightest improvement came to the M3 MacBook Air. And then if you look at the comparisons from M1 to M2 to M3, the M3 in single core performance is about 76% better than the M1, and then you look at it, it's about 18% better than the M2. But if you're looking more about multi-core, it's about 54% better than the M1, and then about 19% better than the M2. And these scores align with what Apple's talking about. They said roughly 60% performance from M3 to M1, and then we've always known about 20% performance uptick from M2 to M3, and that aligns there, specifically with multi-core scoring. Now, if you have any Intel-based MacBook Airs, still, these things are up to 13 times faster than those, so these are Intel-based MacBook Air, so you're probably a person where if you're looking for an upgrade, this would be huge for you. Now let's look at its Metal score for measuring GPU performance. The M3 MacBook Air has a score of 47,945, again slightly besting the M3 iMac. So let's just chalk it up to maybe potential software improvements and tweaks, but the benchmarks show that this M3 MacBook Air, or these M3 MacBook Airs, are just a tad faster than the M3 iMac that came before it, and obviously faster than an M1 and M2. All right, let's jump into real world tests. And yes, I edit video all the time, but instead of these benchmark numbers that give us just a reference point, let's just show some quick real world results here to give you an idea of how this might help you out. So I'm gonna start with a 13+ minute video with 5 layers of 4K video, 5 audio tracks. I use this in all my reviews, and the latest version of Adobe Premiere Pro on macOS Sonoma. Now the new M3 MacBook Air had an export time of 8 minutes and 56 seconds every time. Again, just a tad faster than the M3 iMac, this time by 1 second. So I guess, you see that slight improvement. It won't really make a difference. Now, let's go big and export a 45-minute video in Premiere that has about 20 video and 20 audio tracks. I know this isn't normal for most people, but this can reveal more to us, and this is a beast. The M3 MacBook Air exported that video in 55 minutes and 41 seconds, which is actually a little more eye-opening because the M3 iMac with the same chip exported the same project in 58 minutes and 40 seconds. So that's a 3-minute difference, and faster is better, but I was surprised by the result. Again, this is with really large projects that most people will arguably never do, or maybe just do one. Now, I also did my standard Final Cut Pro video export for a 15-minute video, right? This is optimized for Apple hardware and software. I ran this thing over and over multiple times, but this is one place where things maybe didn't exactly line up, and maybe it's also a software thing at the moment, but look, that's why we test these things here. Consistently, you can see how any Apple M series chip just tears through video exporting when it has the media engine. It still tears through a 15-minute project, but the M3 MacBook Air had just slightly longer export times compared to the M3 iMac and even the M2 15-inch Air. So the M3 MacBook Air appears to bring just slightly slower export results in. We're talking just by seconds, so let's not get overblow this, and it's not actually slow. This honestly really won't have much of a major impact on you, but it's still a good point of reference. I mean, I'm just showing you the results that I have based on the multiple tests, and I do average out the scores just based on the current tests that I'm running. Now, another first for the M3 MacBook Air here that Apple is actually using and saying the word artificial intelligence. Yes, it's on their website. It's on their press releases around the new M3 MacBook Air. Before, they weren't actually saying artificial intelligence. They are now, and they know how AI is the hot buzzword / phrase, and it's important because this is one area where Apple needs to show consumers and users that they are caught up in doing what other people are doing. Other platforms like Google and OpenAI. It has a 16-core neural engine that can help enhance productivity. So there are some examples here that I want to show you. I was playing around with Adobe Photoshop, and it has this generative fill AI feature, which takes something like a small image like this lizard head and just the head here, and you can wait maybe 10 to 20 seconds. You expand the background around it, ask it to fill it up. The app fills in the empty space for me to make this picture so much more expansive than it ever was, which is insane. And you can see I did it multiple times. I'm speeding this up. You also get 3 options to choose from what's been generated, which is wild. And human-made content creation, I feel like, is getting scary when you can see generative AI do something like this and do it this well. Or, there's another app called Luminar Neo that uses the neural engine to sharpen pictures and photos. So I have an upcoming Hooper back during his junior high days that might look familiar, looks pretty badass to me, but you can see how this actually sharpens the photo, and there's also other effects in this app, but it's using AI and the neural engine to do that. Okay, let's even look at something like Microsoft's Copilot that's using AI but not directly on device here. Apple's trying to show us that it's ready to handle AI tasks. I asked for, give me an itinerary for a 3-day trip in Scottsdale, Arizona. And AI has existed in apps for a while with Apple. So this is anything shocking per se, but we don't have AI consumer-facing front-forward features that it's like, oh, hey, use AI for this, use AI for that. I know it's a buzzword. AI has existed, but Apple does need to show the consumer space that how it can really enhance their user experience, and we're hoping to see that. Maybe we'll wait until WWDC to see what they do and how they integrate it into the Mac OS experience and obviously their other platforms. All right, so the new M3 MacBook Air, it starts with 8 gigs of unified memory, but you can configure it up to 24 gigs if you want. And then for storage space, it starts at 256 gigs of storage, but you can configure it all the way up to 2 terabytes. I think, honestly, with these bad boys, look, these are the sleekest laptops from Apple. They should just give us the option for even more hard drive space. Like, look, give me a 4 terabyte option if we want it. It's been long enough. I get it. You still want people to buy a Pro machine and go up there for the higher memory and storage capacity. I'm honestly just asking for just more storage capacity. It does go up to 2 terabytes, but I think it can do more. I know it can do more, but look, it's been long overdue that Apple just be a little more flexible with storage options. That's what would make me really strongly consider getting an Air for the road. The Pro is a beast, but it's also really heavy. I like the idea and would love the idea of taking a 15-inch Air on the road with me. Just give me a little more storage space. Now, the 13-inch model, this starts at $1,099, and then the 15-inch model here starts at $1,299. This is obviously an incremental upgrade for the MacBook Air lineup. I've said it a bunch of times, but Apple Silicon is almost too good. I mean, if you're on an Intel machine and if it's on its last leg, depending on how you use it, 2024 is the year to finally upgrade to Apple Silicon, especially with the new MacBook Air with the M3 and their next-gen GPU. The performance alone will blow your mind compared to what you have today. Now, if you have an M1, I think for most people, their M1 is still doing just fine unless you really want the GPU benefits. You want faster Apple Media Engine. If you're an upcoming video editor and content creator, as you've grown with that machine for the past few years, then an upgrade makes more sense there. But email, photos, surfing the web, word processing, you are good with what you got. Now, if you have an M2 machine, I would not recommend you upgrade from an M2 to an M3 unless you just have to have the newest thing. Like, save your money. It's not that big of a jump, and this is an upgrade that's a no-brainer if you're looking for something better than your Intel-based Mac. Now, for everyone else, you're probably good with what you got, but I'm not you, and I'm not going to stop anyone from just buying what makes them happy. Yeah, I care about you like that. Now, the M3 MacBook Air, this is an incremental update again from Apple. There's nothing groundbreaking here, let's be honest, and this is, though, another solid update. So, yeah, if you want my verdict, it's a solid Apple.